but you guys looks like you need to take off, huh?
No, I don't have one.
Oh, cool. Do you want to hear it? It's up to you.
I'll probably not.
We heard the story in the museum too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, you did.
some of it.
That is awesome. Here, I'm going to move this a little closer so that way. Perfect. Yeah, so you'll actually get to hear, I've only read it one other time, so you'll get to hear it through a different lens, because before you might have heard like just the pure true story, and this is a story that's inspired by the true story, and a lot of the pictures and the facts are true, but it's inspired by the story of a young girl named Zara who travels back in time. And so Zara isn't necessarily a real person, but Lucky is a real being person. And raise your hand if you've ever seen Lucky before. We all have seen him? Perfect. All right. So this is Lucky to Be Alive. And while I get my cough drop all chewed up here, what can you guys notice about the front cover of the picture?
Lucky's running on water.
Running on water. What else do you notice? In this case, it's just on the other side of the image, but his ear is missing, like in that image and later in the book.
It's based on a true story.
Mm-hmm. It's based on the true story of Lucky the horse, who braved flood and fire. So I'll be showing the picture to people online too. All right. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So as you can see in the front pages, I just thank family and friends, all the people that came before us. Spencer thanks, dedicating this to all the people who came before, which is awesome because that's what this book is all about, is helping us appreciate history and heritage and the people who came before us. And we also thank people like the Pueblo County Historical Society, Matt Reffick, Antonio Lefebvre, who make beautiful art pieces or murals in this book. And of course the Pueblo Heritage Museum, which is where Lucky lives. And you can actually come visit where Lucky lives here at the Pueblo Heritage Museum, downtown Pueblo. So let's go ahead and actually start the book. So if you want to follow along, y'all got copies, perfect. This is a story about time. This is a story about a horse named Lucky. This is a story of a girl who traveled back in history and found gratitude for her heritage. This is a story about how lucky we are to be alive. Can someone tell me what gratitude means? We'll have both of you answer your own answers. Go ahead.
Gratitude is thankful. I'm really thankful.
Yes, thankful. Good answer.
Being pretty much what she said about being thankful for what you have, because you might not have it.
Absolutely. I like how you said that, especially knowing like we could not have it one day or the others may not have it. Perfect. Next page here. She learned that Pueblo means the people, the town, and the village in Spanish and Latin. She learned about people of Ute Nation, an indigenous tribe from her dad's side of the family. You can see that beautiful mural, which is actually in our museum at the Pueblo Heritage Museum, and it is made by the local artist Antonio Lefebvre. And in an exhibit about the world-famous Pueblo saddles, Zara locked eyes with a dapple gray hemp papier-mâché horse named Lucky Saddler, or simply Lucky for short. And that's a real picture of Lucky in our exhibits. And they say world famous because we used to be one of the saddle making capitals of the world. What do you think a saddle is? What's a saddle? Go here first this time.
You put it on the horse blanket on its back and you ride on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's sometimes it could have been just blankets, but also leather. Did you have something to add to that? Something to ride a horse, right? So yeah, Pueblo used to be really well known because we didn't have a lot of cars. People rode horses. Suddenly, she felt Lucky come alive, and she saw a picture in her mind. Zara heard him say in a gentle voice, "Let me tell you my story. It might be a little scary, but I know, you know, all is well." Zara felt a shift, and her vision got blurry. She felt the room fall upwards. She began to spin and fall backwards. Everything went. Flip the page. Can someone read that word out loud?
Dark.
Dark. Yes, it's also everything went black too, but dark. Yes. Zara saw firefighters putting out a fire. It was Pueblo. But it didn't look the same. She heard people yell, "Save the horse! Save the horse!" Then she saw Lucky get pulled from the fire unharmed. In her mind, she heard him say, does anyone know what that says?
All is well.
All is well. We're going to say it together throughout the whole book. All is well. Can someone read the bottom, what year it says there? And month?
All as well.
Yes, all is well is his phrase. And then it says October 1989. So she traveled all the way back. And let's take a minute to look at these pictures. You can see it says Max, and then you see the word sad because it actually is cutting off the word saddlery. We'll learn about what a saddlery is in a minute. I'm sure you can already guess. So you can see that there was that fire going on. And then you can see he's just chilling out front, totally fine. Got pulled out because a lot of people were making sure he got rescued. Suddenly, Zara got dizzy. The street began to rise up into an abyss, and she fell backwards, spinning, and again everything went
Dark.
dark. Yes, dark. You see that road starts turning up, and gets a little trippy. Emerging from the darkness, Lucky was there, guiding her. Though she felt afraid, Lucky made her feel safe. And what does he say?
All is well.
All is well, all is well. Zara woke up in bed, but she did not recognize a room. She heard the voice of a woman. Lily dear, come and have breakfast before your father leaves for work. She thought to herself, Lily was my great-grandmother's name. She looked in a mirror. She was still aware of herself as Zara, but also naturally accepted she was somehow seeing through Lily's eyes. So she's seeing through her great-grandmother Lily's eyes, who survived the flood. She mentioned her at the beginning of the book. She went downstairs. Her mother asked, Lily, did you sleep well? I thought we could do some shopping today. She yawned as she shared, I've had funny dreams, but shopping sounds fun. Her father declared as he took a sip from his coffee, the chieftain says it should not rain so hard like it did yesterday. Let's hope they are right. What does that look like in the lower left of the page
It
here?
was a bad storm.
Yes, and do you know what is that right there? Is that something that? Oh yeah, this part. What is it?
A newspaper.
Yes, good job. You said it at the same time. Newspaper. And then this one's a little hard to read, but it says June 3rd, 1921. So this was the day before it rained a lot. Although what that newspaper article says is that it actually rained a lot that day too, so that's why the dad's saying, let's hope it doesn't rain like that again. Lily and her mother took a trolley car down to Main Street, and they walked past Fraser's saddlery. In the shop, she saw the same papier-mâché dappled gray horse. He was the same as she had seen at the Pueblo Heritage Museum outside that fire. In different times and different places. He looked a little less weathered and younger. With a sigh, she whispered to herself, Oh, this day is so weird. As she walked past the horse and caught his eyes, she heard his familiar voice in her mind and heart. I know, you know. All is well. Her mother said, Come along, Lily. And the clouds above grew darker. Lily and her mother went back home early because of the storm brewing above them. Oh, I hope your father makes it home okay, her mother said with a shaky voice. For a moment, Lily felt afraid. Then she remembered what Lucky telepathically spoke to her. What does he say?
All as well.
All is well, all is well. Lily comforted her mother. He'll be home safe, and this is going to be a crazy storm. Let us keep him safe in our thoughts. Those clouds are getting really dark above. As the day was getting late, her father ran in the front door, soaking wet. He said the river was flooding and many people were gathered in the streets watching the river climb its banks. He said they were lucky to live in Aberdeen, a neighborhood on higher grounds. Her dad described trains, houses, and lumber floating down the river. Then, Lily had a vision in her mind of Lucky floating downstream, bobbing in the rushing waters. She felt the terror of the event as sirens cried in the distance. Much damage would be caused and many lives lost. She sensed how her faith earlier helped bring her father home. She held this hope in her heart again, this time for the entire community of Pueblo. We are lucky to be alive. All will be well again one day, she reminded her family. And those are actually real pictures from in front of the Union Depot. And then one is a visual of Lucky running across the floodwaters, an art piece of him. But that is a real photo, though, that was taken in 1921. Lily and her parents slept as much as they could as the rain pounded on the roof through the night. They worried about their friends and family they weren't able to reach before the phone lines went down. Lily dreamt. She saw lumber on fire floating down the river. She saw Lucky standing tall in a tree. She heard a whisper of his voice.
All as well.
Yes, all is well, all is well. And then the next page still has a newspaper article. Early the next day, Lily and her mom read the paper while her father went to help rescue people from tall buildings. And they did that on rowboats. And he also went to shovel mud from the roads. Can somebody read the top lines of that over here? What it says on the newspaper?
Oh, blood.
Yeah, extra. That's right. And it says the Pueblo Chieftain, June 4th, 1921. And as you can see on the side of the newspaper, it says, can someone read what that says? It says a word with a D and a word with an L. Do you know what that says, Gianna? Do you know what it says? Right here. It's deathless. These are the lists of people who died. They published it in the newspaper. So I want to say that if any of this makes you feel sad as we keep reading, that it's okay to feel that way. Even though it didn't happen to us, it happened to real people who lived here. So it's okay to feel sadness. It's called empathy, even across space and time, as we appreciate history and all that people went through. They heard stories of heroes like John Nittinger, who sounded a steam whistle for hours to warn of the flood until the waters reached his waist. Then he hung from a ceiling pipe all night until he was rescued the next day. Her heart hurt when hearing stories of loved ones lost. In the streets, there was wreckage and even cattle that had drowned. So if you see those pictures, that's what it looked like the next day when people were cleaning up the mess, and that's a picture of John Nittinger, that hero. And so can you imagine how hard that would have been? It would have felt like your world was ending. They learned of Josephine Pryor and her team of switchboard operators who helped warn people of the flood by telephone, risking their lives. They carried a hand-cranked record player from floor to floor as the waters rose, and the music helped keep their spirits high. The picture up top is a real photo of real switchboard operators, although not from here in Pueblo. And then the bottom part is a artistic view of what that could have looked like when the flood was coming up to their legs. And that's a real picture of Josephine Pryor, who actually had left work and she chose to come back to work. So she actually had already left work and she was the leader of her team, and she actually saw that was happening, and she knew that in her heart that she had to go warn people. And they think they probably saved hundreds of lives by calling them people who were down rivers, telling them to get to higher grounds. And lastly, this picture here is a real hand-drawn picture by one of the telephone operators who was working that night that survived. She drew that, and it says, "Our first day back at the switchboard, play a lullaby." So basically what that means is she was drawing that picture, kind of visualizing herself back at work. She was still probably feeling a little bit of just of that trauma of having gone through that. So they were also listening to music after to help keep them calm. They were able to carry a record player that looked a lot like this as they had to go from floor 1 to floor 2 to floor 3 as the waters kept coming. And it's a kind of record player that they could crank to play music, so it didn't need electricity. But as it says here, they risked their lives not only because the water could have drowned them, but because the switchboards are connected to electricity. Why do you think that would be dangerous?
Water electricity.
Mm-hmm. You can get electrocuted. All right, we'll move on. Within 2 days, Lucky was found in a cottonwood tree in the farmlands of Avondale, just as Lily had seen in her dream. Somehow, he only had minor injuries and his spirit held strong. He became a symbol of hope and resilience for Pueblo when he returned home. Lily went to see him. She locked eyes with Lucky, who was missing an ear. He spoke to her mind. All is well. Even though there is much destruction in your city, all is well. Thank you for holding hope for me and your family and your community. The world is brighter because of your hope. Now go teach this to others. As the horse spoke to Lily, she felt a familiar dizziness. The same feeling that had brought her back in time to 1921. As if waking up from a dream, she opened her eyes and saw her mother. "Zara, are you okay? You fell down a few seconds ago." Zara was so relieved to see her again and gave her a big hug. You can see her giving her a big hug on the next page, right in front of Lucky. "Mom, Lucky has seen so much. Pueblo rebuilt and the people are safe now. And we still have a city on the river." "Yes, Zara, this horse somehow survived a flood and a fire. He is resilient. I feel like Lucky just told me his whole story. I'm so grateful for you and our family and our city. I can't believe what people have gone through for us to be here today. Pueblo is strong. You are strong and I am strong. Pueblo survived, just like Lucky the horse." And that's a real picture during the flood of the Union Depot. And then you can see that that's a picture today of the Union Depot. And the last page here. "Yes, Zara, we are resilient." And what does he say?
All is well.
"All is well, all is well," Zara repeated as she saw a glimmer in Lucky's eyes. Zara had felt so much for a girl her age. She traveled back in time over 102 years. She felt the strength of her city, her family, and all those who came before her. She saw Lucky the horse and Pueblo survive in the face of great challenges and destruction. Zara knew that all was well, exactly as it was meant to be. And at the end of a very weird day, Zara felt so lucky to be alive. And as Lucky says right here, he says, "Remember, you are resilient." What do you think resilient means? Ooh, I like that. Unstoppable. That's definitely. Yes, I like that. Yes, resilient, can get through anything. There's a link here as well as a QR code so you can get the coloring sheets, which are also over there. You can take those with you and also print them at home from this link. And there's also Pin the Ear on Lucky and lots of flood stories at that link too. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks for listening twice to you and him. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, feel free to take as many as you want.